Hello, and welcome to another video from 3.5 Archive. Today we're going to be doing another D&D 3.5 Prestige class review, and we're going to be looking at the High Proselytizer Prestige class from the Epic Level Handbook. This is going to be the second Epic Level Prestige class that we've looked at on this channel, and there's a reason for that because there aren't very many of them. But the High Proselytizer is for the absolute highest ranking preachers among their respective faith, and this is a character that would be a prophet, or sort of a chosen one, kind of like the favored soul, but even more so. And they preach to the crowd and channel their deity's divine will directly, and kind of bring the power of said deity to the masses. So this prestige class is based on leadership. You're going to be the leader of a large religious organization, more than likely. Or at the very least, you're going to be preaching to a very large organization or religious group. So, what do you need to become a High Proselytizer? Well, this is an Epic level prestige class, so you're going to need Diplomacy of 12 ranks, and then either Knowledge Religion 24 ranks or Knowledge Nature 24 ranks for the clerics and druids, respectively. You're also going to need leadership, and then you're going to need the epic feat of epic leadership, which requires you to have at least a 25 charisma. So let's hope you've been investing in your charisma. You can qualify for this prestige class with magic items helping you out, but still, if you're just coming in with a 13, you're going to need a plus 12 cloak of charisma, and that's a pretty steep ask to get into a prestige class. So you're going to want to have good charisma and probably good wisdom as well, since you're going to need to be a divine caster. You only need to be able to cast 5th level divine spells, so this could possibly be an option for a cleric / bard, but again, you would need a high wisdom score and high charisma score to get into this, so it's a little bit odd. Epic leadership is not a feat to be taken lightly. You also need to have a patron deity, so you do need to be a religious character of some kind. You could still be a druid worshipping, Obadhai or Alona, but you need to have a patron deity. And so what do you get as a High Proselytizer? Well, the requirements to get into this prestige class, we're going to keep in mind that this is epic level, but even so, the requirements are very restrictive, as you need to be a divine caster able to do at least 5th level divine spells. So you need to have at least a 15 wisdom and also a 25 charisma for epic leadership. So that's pretty difficult. You're going to be sacrificing a lot of your other abilities to get that. You could be, maybe a mystic theurge or something like that, that's, a sorcerer cleric or something like that, and already has those high scores. But that's going to be a pretty rare type of character. And to get into this prestige class, it's going to be pretty difficult. You're going to have to plan your character around it. So it's going to be strongly restrictive overall. So what do you get from being a High Proselytizer? Well, you're going to get a D8 hit die. You're going to be epic level, so you're not going to get a base save bonus of any kind or base attack bonus of any kind. That's going to be determined by your epic level progression. So it's just going to be a matter of looking at what features you get. Now, this prestige class only gives you a increase to your spellcasting level at every even numbered level. So as a 10 level prestige class, you're only going to get 5 improvements to your divine spellcasting. But that's actually okay, because if you did come in as a 20th level cleric, then, while it is nice to get some improvement to your spellcasting ability, you're already going to be getting access to epic level spells if you take the epic spellcasting feat. So because of that, you're going to not mind this downside quite as much. So instead, we're going to be looking at what features you get. And while you should keep in mind that this is better than just continuing to progress in cleric, which gives you no features, you do need to also take into account what you are building your character around in order to get into this. So it's a different game looking at an epic level prestige class, because at this point you're not so much giving up potential features from another class, but you are giving up potential multi-classing options or another epic level prestige class. So let's take a look. At level 1, you're going to get Proselytize. This gives you the ability to preach the word of your deity to large crowds with great effect, and you get to use this once per day, and you get 1 additional use per 10 class levels thereafter. If you get to level 10, then you get another use of this, but, and this assumes that your Dungeon Master is willing to extend this prestige class past level 10, which there are rules for in the Epic level handbook, and it is suggested that you do so. But a once per day ability that's going to stay once per day, isn't really that great. generally speaking. Although in this case, there's not going to be that many instances we're going to be preaching to a large crowd multiple times a day. So Proselytize has 3 effects. When you're doing your proselytizing, you are going to be affected as though you are under the sanctuary spell. That's pretty nice. Sanctuary is a nice spell, but it's also a first level spell, and you could have just cast Sanctuary. Also, your voice can be clearly heard no matter what the background noise is by anyone within a radius of 100 feet plus 50 feet per class level. So eventually out to a 600-foot radius, no matter how loud it is, if there's a titanic abyssal battle going on, or if there's a thunderstorm, your audience will be able to hear you clearly. And they can also understand you no matter what languages they speak, as though they are affected by a Comprehend Languages spell. And they also have a chance of becoming enraptured. So followers of your deity are going to be automatically enraptured if they have 10 or fewer hit dice. That's going to be most people. Otherwise, there's a will save of DC 20 plus half your class level. So eventually 25 plus your wisdom modifier when you've maxed out this prestige class. Of course, you could go further past 10 levels in it. That would be up to you. But generally speaking, a DC of anywhere from 28 to maybe 33 or 34, depending how high your wisdom gets. It could get a lot higher, of course. That should do the job on most people that you're going to be proselytizing to. Others of the same alignment that aren't followers of your deity are automatically enraptured if they have 5 or fewer hit dice, otherwise they make the same will save. And then anyone else that's of a different alignment and not a follower of your deity makes a will save as above. And this has them affected as though they were charmed by a symbol of persuasion. They change alignment as appropriate, and they function according to a charm person spell. This is pretty nice. This would allow you to essentially brainwash people into following you. The effect is going to last 10 minutes plus an additional 5 minutes per high Proselytizer level, so it's not going to be for very long. It's going to be good for charming large numbers of enemies that you don't want to kill. You could use this against an entire army and sow massive discord within their ranks, as a lot of them are going to have to be making a very difficult will save in order to avoid becoming charmed by you. So that's a very powerful ability for the sort of large-scale, warfare or interaction with the world, or some call it domain-level play, where you're interacting with large armies, huge gatherings, and that sort of thing. So it has some great story potential, some great, epic act potential, you could say. But in your average dungeon, where a lot of monsters are going to be immune to being charmed, it's not really that great of an ability. You're not going to be running into huge numbers of monsters, generally speaking. It does work on a whole bunch of creatures at once, which is nice. But it is gated by a will save, and as well, it's gated by immunity to being charmed. So there's 2 potential failure points there for this ability. That said, it is really powerful if it does work. So it might be worth using in a lot of cases. You could shut down a large encounter with it. But it's one of those abilities that's going to be... You're going to want to choose whether or not to take this prestige class based on the type of campaign that you're in. If you're riding around conquering territory and trying to convert entire evil religions to the side of good, then this is an excellent prestige class. This is an excellent ability. But if you're just going into dungeons, my experience with Epic Level was doing some Epic Level published modules. And if I had been playing a cleric, I would have had very little potential to use this ability. So it really depends on the campaign with this ability. But it does continue to improve. So at 3rd level, your high Proselytizer ability is going to include deific touch once per day, plus an additional 1 time per day per 10 levels. And then so during your speech, you can move among the enraptured. So they have to be enraptured for this to work. Shaking hands and caressing brows and otherwise making contact with the audience members. So you basically move through the crowd, and anyone that you touch is healed of a d4 points of damage and immediately cured of any natural disease or poison. You can affect up to 6 individuals per round, which is the maximum number that you can affect with a touch spell at once. And an audience member can benefit from deific touch only once per Proselytize session. So you can only heal 1d4 points of damage per person. So again, this is only going to be for helping out the common folk. But being able to remove a disease, I mean, your character could just give a speech and then walk through the crowd, channeling the will of their deity, and immediately remove that entire plague situation from their midst. So this would be a great way to foil a lot of evil cult plot lines and that sort of thing. I've certainly had some adventures like that in my campaigns. But again, in a dungeon, it's not going to be that good. At level 5, you're going to get deific word once per day, plus, again, 1 additional time per day per 10 levels. And this functions as a triple strength sound burst spell to all who are not enraptured. So those that do not fall for your convincing words are going to take 3d8 sonic damage and have to make a will save to avoid being stunned for 3 rounds. This can occur at any point during your speech. And, I mean, this is really solid if you're fighting a whole army, because anyone that fails their will save, if it's a bunch, an army of first level warriors, are just going to be killed outright. And anyone that survives are going to be the people that chose to turn toward the light of truth and join your forces. So that's a pretty cool addition to the feature. You do have to wait to level 5 to get it, but you're epic level anyway, so, whatever, it's not going to be that big of a deal at this point. Also, back at level 2, you're going to get the ability to heal once per day. This lets you cast heal upon yourself or another creature once per day, plus 1 additional time per 4 levels thereafter. And, well, you can already probably cast heal. Yes, you do only need to be able to cast 5th level divine spells for this prestige class, but odds are you probably went fully into cleric and you can already cast heal. More uses of it is nice, but it's not the kind of feature that you would go for a prestige class. At level 4, you're going to get a bonus feat. This bonus feat can be from among a list of epic level feats, and the list is fairly open. There's a lot of options. It does allow you to take epic spellcasting if you don't already have it. Automatic quicken spell, bonus domain, great charisma to improve your charisma, improved spell capacity, polyglot, although you don't need to worry about that since your Proselytize ability gives comprehend languages, but while you're not using it, this can be nice as well. Legendary commander, which allows you to really max out your followers. There's a whole lot of options here. It's nice to get more bonus feats. It's not necessarily a reason to take a prestige class, but it is pretty solid. It is important to note, though, that if you continue progressing as a cleric, you do get bonus feats every 3 levels anyway. So you have to keep that in mind when you evaluate epic level prestige classes. You are comparing them with base classes that are a little bit modified. So at level 7, you're going to get deific face. This is a new facet of your Proselytize ability, and this allows you to once per day cause a blinding burst to shine from your face, and it affects all that are in the audience who are not enraptured as the sunburst spell cast by a 20th level cleric. So this is going to annihilate a lot of people that aren't enraptured by you. This kind of leans toward like a cleric of Palo or something like that, but it could function for any sort of divine wrath that you are channeling through your body. So anybody that isn't enraptured by you is going to be divinely punished. That's pretty nice, but and it's going to be in a huge radius. But again, while it's nice for annihilating armies, it's not going to be very powerful in a epic level dungeon against epic level foes. Finally, at level 9, you're going to get the deific aura once per day. When you speak, you could cause a rolling wave of deific power to spring from your body that functions as blasphemy, dictum, holy word, or word of chaos, whatever is appropriate for your alignment, affecting only those in the audience who have resisted becoming enraptured. So this is even more punishment for those that refuse to bend to your deity's will. And while that is a nice feature, again, it'll work great on low-level enemies that will just be automatically killed. Per those spells that just automatically kill those with low enough hit dice. But in an epic level dungeon, odds are it's not going to do anything at all. The number of hit dice that these creatures are going to have is going to be a lot more than a 20th level cleric could inflict. So it's just not a very good ability on its own. Then finally at level 10 you get heal 3 times per day, and you might not even want to bother with that. So overall, the High Proselytizer is a great prestige class for an epic level campaign where you are leading armies or interacting with the world in a way in which you are trying to change it, trying to convert vast numbers of people to your religion. It's a very wrathful way of doing so, although you don't have to use these features if you don't want to. It's a very powerful prestige class, again, in terms of the world, but for a dungeon, an epic level dungeon, the features really are going to fall flat. Some extra uses of heal are probably the only benefit you're really going to get. But if you're going to be building into taking leadership and epic leadership and investing that much in your charisma, then you're probably not going to want to have such lackluster features when it comes to actually going up against epic level challenges. And while it does improve your divine spellcasting, it does so slowly. Overall, the High Proselytizer gets 4 stars for concept, but 2 stars for execution. It would get 4 stars in a campaign that's right for it, but you do have to make sure you're in the right type of campaign for it. And even so, unless you're doing a whole lot of preaching to the masses, those features are going to fall flat in actual epic level adventuring circumstances. So that'll be about it for this D&D 3.5 Prestige class review. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and so on. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time here on 3.5 Archive.